Armistice, a truce, an agreement between two opposing sides to lay down arms. Armistice Day or Remembrance Day has been marked in Lesotho under slightly relaxed COVID-19 protocols this year. The event was halted the last 2 years due to COVID-19 restrictions. I want to get the very latest and bring in our correspondent via Zoom in Lesotho, Rapelang Radebe. So thank you very much indeed for coming on. Talk to us firstly about Lesotho's role during World War I.
Hi, Brian. This is World War II mostly that is being commemorated today in Maseru. The events have been halted mostly for the past 2 years due to COVID restrictions, but today they have resumed today in the center of time, which now the event is about to take place. We are awaiting the arrival of His Majesty, the high dignitaries, and mostly the diplomats, mostly from the European Union and the rest of the world. We still have, I was told in the last count, it is now about 15 survivors who are still here and are able, most of them are not able to attend, but we have spotted 2 or 3 of them who have taken place today. As we speak, it is when the army commander will be the one who will be arriving first, such that by the time His Majesty arrives, he will be taking charge to accept him so that they can start the reef laying process.
Rapelang, help the audience understand. So the great part of the world is commemorating World War I. 11th November was that day in terms of Remembrance Day. In Lesotho, they are recognizing the contribution during World War II. Is that correct? And talk to us about the difference in terms of participation from Lesotho.
Absolutely, you're right. You'll remember that most of the war was in Lesotho fighting like shoulder to shoulder with the British Army, and their contribution was significant. Other than there was close to 21,000 Lesotho men who were sent to that war. About 1,000 of them, we were told, could not make it, did not come. But most significance is that Lesotho contributed towards buying of the planes which were called the Spitfires, and I think about 12 of them, which the British are acknowledging that they really helped change the course of war in that particular time. So Lesotho's significance is quite important. The place where we are, they used to put a model of that Spitfire in remembrance, that in acknowledgement that Lesotho played a significant role towards the winning of that particular war.
Talk to me about soldiers currently. We know about the adoration of soldiers in countries like the US, like the UK. The troops, they say. We support the troops, the veterans. What's it like in Lesotho, in Africa, with regards to the respect that soldiers garner from citizens?
Yes, absolutely. You'll remember that Lesotho was under protectorate of the British at the time. And it was quite important that they are seen to be taking part in relations where the others had problems and stuff. And Lesotho were regarded as relatively quite strong. I had I would say a soft moment with one of them who was saying a lot of them just disappeared into the European areas at the time and were not accounted for in coming back. Simply some of them were saying they were really not sure why they had to join the war. But these are soft stories that we are told and laughter. But I think to answer more of your question was that at the time, you really need to be playing to be seen as an alliance of that particular, especially as a protectorate. And Lesotho at the time was going through a bit of a turmoil with the Anglo-Boer wars this side. So I think it was important that they show that particular alliance. And today, some of them are saying they would really not want to see any war taking place, especially seeing people toying around with very dangerous moves that could lead to the Third World War. And they say for those who experienced what war is like, they say you do not want by any means to go near the war, for those who know how terrible the war and its ramifications can be.
Rapelang Radebe, live for us in Lesotho. We thank you very much indeed. No doubt you'll be sending us the pomp and ceremony, the color during this commemoration, commemorating World War II in this regard. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for your reporting. So it's almost like a dual commemoration, isn't it? In Lesotho, they are honoring those who took part in World War II. A large part of the world is recognizing and commemorating Remembrance Day, 11th of November, Armistice Day, as some call it. It marks a ceasefire agreement between the allies of World War I and Germany. Let's find out more. Let's take this conversation forward and find out what South Africa's role in World War I. For now, we're joined by retired SANDF, South African National Defence Force Lieutenant General Derrick Mgwebi. Sir, pleasure having you on the program. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting, and good morning to your viewers.
So I'm not sure if you heard my interview with our colleague in Lesotho. They are honoring those who took part in World War II. We are now talking about World War I and the role that black African soldiers played during the First and Second World War. Let's maybe include that as well. Your take.
Thank you very much. I think it is important that at least we put this into context at the time where South Africa just became a union in 1910. And of course, within the white community among themselves, there was a disagreement about whether to join or not to join the war. Finally, of course, Smuts won the day, and South Africa joined the war. And Africans were recruited, blacks, coloreds, and Indians, including Chinese, were part of the process. But the understanding was they won't be carrying arms in terms of being part of that war. That was the challenge in terms of that. They came in as drivers, as storemen, as medical orderlies.
You know, one of the things that we talk about often when we refer to World War I, one of South Africa's iconic wartime stories, the trauma of what has been remembered as a European war, now given an African perspective. We honor fallen heroes every Armed Forces Day. The SS Mendi sank. It was a troop ship carrying over 800 people. We have some footage of that. Most of them were from the South African Native Labour Corps. It was regarded as one of South Africa's worst maritime tragedies of the First World War. Is the role of black African soldiers well documented in the history books?
The capturing of the sacrifices made by the black soldiers is not well documented. It is also not remembered and commemorated as one would wish. And if it is at least like, as you rightly said, we talk of SS Mendi and the sinking of the ship. In terms of public commemoration of that, probably you would find the military being the one and few officials from government. But in terms of the public and possible the dependence of those members, there is very little in terms of commemorating, including documenting some of these roles played by our forefathers in terms of both the First and Second World War.
You know, I was just listening to some interviews being done a couple of days ago where America, they observing, commemorating Veterans Day. And one of the topics of discussion is how well their veterans are taken care of. Issues, no doubt. What's the situation in South Africa in terms of taking care of our veterans, those who have served, those families who have lost loved ones? Would you say it's adequate?
Well, the act is there in terms of the military veterans in South Africa. The Act number 18 of 2011, it speaks of all the good things, housing, health, it speaks of military pension, But when they then look at the actual substance of what then the military veterans are getting, then probably a lot deserve to be done in that regard. The military pension is not yet there, although in terms of the Act, it is mentioned as one of the benefits which the military veterans are supposed to receive. And this is one of the reasons you would find that presently, the military veterans are a little bit angry with government with regards to some of these benefits not being delivered to them.
Right. When we look back in South Africa's involvement in the First World War, what sort of lessons can present-day soldiers learn?
Well, I'll just take one of the issues of the Cape Coloured Corps, who in fact, out of East Africa, they went to Egypt, and then from Egypt, they found themselves somewhere in Palestine. And that's where the Battle of Square Hill, in fact, they show themselves. One thing there is question of under difficult times and under heavy fire, artillery fire from the Axis forces, discipline is one important aspect of it. And two, the endurance which they had, the level of readiness and training, and the question of equipment which was availed to them. It's also very critical. So it is important, therefore, that we look at making sure that our soldiers are properly equipped and resourced, trained to do what is expected of them. At the end of the day, the suffering, the horrors, the exposure they get involved in when they come back, something we need to deal with. Because if we leave that, then of course it will come back to haunt us.
Yes.
As in some instances it does. And also taking care of their dependents is very critical. Recording, remembering, and making sure we learn and we don't repeat some of the mistakes which have been done in the past.
How best can we do that, sir? Not only the financial well-being of those who served, but also the mental well-being of those who served. As you say, when you come back, it doesn't end there. You're still dealing with these issues. What's your take on that?
Well, the challenge with us presently, when people come back and everything is done and forgotten, and the rest of us continue with our lives and not taking into account what traumas and horrors the individual has been at least exposed to, and coming back, the impact of those to their families. My take is the military should do their part, but government must make sure that, one, when soldiers come back from these kind of conflict areas, there must be a time where they are taken and also from a psychological perspective, given rest and time to check and keep verifying and following up what kind of psychological impact that might have in them, and also follow up with their families, what experiences their families are getting and out of these soldiers from war. That needs to be monitored. And two, we need to build at least some facilities where these soldiers, one way or other, can be allowed to at least stay whilst they are staying there, not necessarily a kind of holiday resort, but something close to that where they can visit, stay, but under observation. Of course, if there's any follow-up to be done, that can be done. But government needs at least to get off their own blocks and make sure that this is done. But presently, relying only on the military health hospital is not on.
On days like this, it affords us an opportunity to thank you and those who have served this country with aplomb and esteem. And we thank you very much indeed for your service and coming onto the program and giving us fresh perspective. Be well.
Thank you very much, and best of luck. I also encourage your good self, continue recording this and also making sure that these memories do not at least go away, and we continue reminding our people including our politicians, in regards to those who have served the country.
All right, God bless. Be well. That was the retired
Thank you.
South African National Defence Force Lieutenant General Derrick Mgwebi.